Hey, it's Hugh Foster here with another Bassline original tutorial video, and it's disco time. Obviously I'm playing the Disco Machine, my trusty Stingray, and don't forget you can get the transcription and the backing track for this and all other Bassline videos on my Patreon, patreon.com/Hugh Foster. So first of all, what is a disco pony, I hear you ask? It's a phrase that I first heard from Jamiroquai's current bass player, Paul Turner, and I'd say he's one of the masters of the technique. And essentially it's octaves, constant octaves in the disco style, going low, high, alternating. The low notes are all eighth notes, the high notes are sixteenths, creating that sort of galloping effect. That kind of thing. I'll go into more detail on the technique shortly, but first, here are my three favourite examples of this kind of bass line in reverse chronological order, because why not? Number one, Disco Ulysses by Wolfpack from their 2018 album Hill Climber. Chances are, if you're a bass player, you know all about Joe Dart. He uses 16ths all the time. This is just another great example of his fantastic right-hand technique. Number two, Don't Give Hate a Chance from 2005's Dynamite by Jamiroquai. Although I've mentioned Jamiroquai already, this album predates Paul Turner's time with the band. So the bass credit for this one, I'm fairly sure, is Derek McIntyre. Although the album credits list Randy Hope Taylor as additional bass player on the track, but yeah, fairly sure it's Derek McIntyre on that one. Absolute killer bass line either way. Last, but by no means least, is Dance Dance Dance, brackets Yowza Yowza Yowza, gotta get the brackets in, by Chic from their 1977 self-titled debut album. Bernard Edwards is, in my opinion, the OG disco bass player, and yeah, one of my biggest influences. Okay, part two, this is what I like to call the groove. In this part, I'll break down the basic technique behind all disco pony bass lines, but also this particular bass line which I've prepared. So let's just get straight into it. Let's start with the technique. We're in the key of G minor in this particular instance, so let's just stay on one chord on a G and just play that alternating octaves, right? Generally what you do when you do alternate octaves is alternate your fingers in your right hand as well. But to achieve this galloping effect, to get the 16ths on the high note, you'll actually want to play everything at first. If you're just doing those eighth notes with your first finger, like so. So it's all with the first finger in the right hand, okay? Because then eventually you can add in those 16ths, like so. And obviously start slow, as with every technique. Just work on it with a metronome at a nice steady tempo and gradually bring it into your playing and you should be good. Okay, so now let's just hear the bass line slowed down. And watch out for that push into bar one, like so. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the main bass line. Slow down a little bit. If you still need help with that, don't forget you can get the transcription on my Patreon, link below. Part three, this is what I like to call the Flair. Each of my bassline videos has a fill, a tricky little moment to make it a little bit trickier. Yeah, add a little bit of flair. It's self-explanatory, hopefully. So here we are again, the last two bars of the bass line with this one fill in this particular instance. It's a diminished seventh arpeggio. I'll get into more detail on what that is shortly, but here it is again. 3, 4. And again, even slower. 3, 4. So, as I mentioned, it's based on a diminished seventh arpeggio. We're in the key of G minor, And if you go down one semitone from G, the chord that you would get from that, if you're in the key of G minor, technically G harmonic minor is where it's from, is a diminished seventh arpeggio. And diminished seventh chords, arpeggios, they're based entirely on minor thirds. So from each point of the chord, you're going to just go up a minor third and you're going to get to the next tone in that chord. So in the case of this fill, that is root note here, F sharp, double flat 7, nice and fun, that's an E flat, the flat 5, that's a C, the flat 3, A, and then back to our root note of the diminished 7th chord, F sharp, and then obviously in this instance and in a lot of instances you'll want to resolve to the chord that is just a semitone above it, and that's quite often how this kind of chord is used. Not always, but quite often. So a quick note on diminished 7th arpeggios. As I've mentioned, they're based entirely on minor thirds, and a good thing to practice is, you know, going all the way up the neck, see how high you can go. See if I can come down a different way. They are awkward arpeggios to play. They're not, you know, they're always shifting. You know, if you look at it this way, you're always going up a fret from your starting point. You're going 2, 5, 3, 6, 4, 7, 5, 8. I would just suggest practicing them in all the different ways you can imagine. And even with this fill, I played it in this instance, starting with my first finger on the 4th fret here. But you could also play it here. You know, you've got that open A at your disposal. I ended up not playing it that way because it is a little more awkward, and, you know, you're making an awkward thing even more awkward. But it is useful to, you know, just know your fretboard inside out. Okay, so that's about it for today. Let me know if you have any questions or thoughts in the comments below. I've got a playlist going of Disco Pony bass lines. Let me know if you can think of any other ones and I'll add it to the playlist. Link below in the description. Also below in the description is the link to my Patreon, of course. You can get the transcription and backing track from there, and to all my other bassline video tutorials. Thank you to everyone who has signed up to my Patreon since I launched. That's it from me today. Let me know how you get on with this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.